We're back on the deep dive. And wow, right now it seems like all eyes are on Bitcoin, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's really pushing up there again.
Yeah, bumping up against its all-time high. What is it, around $106,000
Mhm.
with that $109,114 peak just right there.
Pretty close. And, while everyone's watching the price chart, which is understandable.
Sure. It's grabbing the headlines.
Exactly. But what's really significant here, I think, goes way beyond just, a number ticking up.
Okay.
This whole moment feels like a big signal, like it's flashing something about how trust is shifting, maybe, and technology, obviously, but also jitters in the wider economy.
That's interesting. So it forces us to look past the usual crypto talk.
Yeah, I think so. It's fascinating because we're not just talking about, like, a digital asset going up in value. We're starting to ask these fundamental questions again.
About the future of money itself.
Right. Who's in control? Where do we actually place our trust? And, who gets included in this evolving financial world, or who gets left out?
Yeah, exactly. And that's precisely why we thought, okay, this is the moment for a deep dive. Let's maybe put the price predictions aside for a minute.
Good idea.
Our goal here isn't about telling you what to buy or sell. Definitely not. Instead, we really want to unpack Bitcoin's history, which has been, let's face it, pretty turbulent.
Oh, for sure.
Look at the major hurdles it's had to overcome and really think about what its path, its trajectory, could actually mean for your own financial situation, even if you don't hold any crypto right now.
And if you think about the bigger picture, I mean, despite all this current excitement near the highs, Bitcoin's journey has been incredibly polarized.
Right.
People have called it everything, haven't they? A bubble, revolutionary tech, sometimes just an outright scam.
Yeah.
And those labels, they really reflect just how intense the arguments are about its real value, its long-term staying power.
Absolutely. And the challenges haven't been theoretical. They've been very real, very public.
Yeah.
We've seen governments all over the world trying to figure out regulation, sometimes pretty heavy-handedly.
Yeah, that's a constant struggle.
And major crypto exchanges just collapsing.
Yeah.
I mean, names like Mt. Gox, FTX, they still bring up bad memories for a lot of people.
Huge impacts. Huge.
Then there's the ongoing stuff, the energy consumption debate, the environmental footprint. You can't really ignore those.
No, those are valid concerns.
Plus, let's be honest, the volatility itself, those massive daily price swings, that's enough to make even, experienced investors a bit nervous.
Definitely. It really raises that core question. How do you actually build trust in something that can move that erratically?
So where does that volatility come from?
Well, it's a mix of things, right? It's got a relatively limited supply, which is key. Lots of speculative trading for sure. And then just the ongoing regulatory uncertainty in different places.
Okay.
But what's kind of remarkable when you look back at Bitcoin's story is how it just keeps bouncing back, despite all that.
Yeah, it's true.
Regulatory crackdowns, exchanges blowing up, environmental fights, these crazy price swings. It seems to weather all these storms and somehow finds a way to recover.
Okay, let's dig into that resilience then. Let's maybe rewind a bit. Where did it all start? It emerged, what, 2009?
2009, yeah. As this idea for a peer-to-peer electronic cash system.
And the core idea was pretty radical back then.
Totally radical, cut out the middlemen, the banks, remove government control over the money supply. It was all built on code, this decentralized network.
Right. Explain that decentralized bit again quickly.
Sure. Think of it like instead of one company holding a file on one server, the file is copied and spread across thousands of computers worldwide.
Okay.
So if one computer goes offline, or even 100, the network keeps running, the file's still there. No single point of failure or control.
Got it. And it was driven by this community of early believers, right?
Exactly, a dedicated group. And what's interesting is seeing how that initial vision started to catch on. You fast forward to, say, 2013, Bitcoin breaks $1,000 for the first time. That signals, okay, awareness is growing beyond just that initial tech group.
Then 2017 happened.
Oh, yeah. 2017, that incredible surge up to nearly $20,000. Suddenly, mainstream media is all over it, tons of new investors pouring in.
But
then the inevitable correction, a sharp one, back down to around $3,000 within about a year. That volatility you mentioned, on full display.
And we've seen similar cycles more recently, too. The 2020-2021 bull run felt a bit different, though, didn't it?
It did. You started seeing some institutional investors dipping their toes in. Plus, you had the whole pandemic situation, economic uncertainty, government stimulus money.
All playing a part.
Seemed like it. That pushed Bitcoin up to its previous record high, around $69,000.
Before another big downturn, the 2022 crypto winter.
Right. Fell all the way below $17,000. Rough time.
And now here we are in 2025, climbing back up again. What feels different this time? What's driving this rally?
Well, the factors seem maybe a bit more substantial, or at least different. The approval of Bitcoin ETFs, that was huge.
Yeah, that definitely opened it up.
Opened it up to a much, much broader group of traditional investors through familiar channels. Then you have ongoing discussions about the halving events.
Run us what those are.
Sure, they happen roughly every 4 years. Basically, the code automatically cuts the reward for mining new Bitcoin blocks in half, so it slows down the rate at which new Bitcoin is created.
Affecting the supply side.
Exactly, highlighting those fundamental supply dynamics. And maybe there's just this continued, possibly even stronger interest from people looking for alternatives, seeking some independence from the traditional financial system.
Okay, so looking back at all those ups and downs, all those events, what would you pinpoint as the real turning point, the moment that sort of fundamentally shifted Bitcoin's path? Was it one of those big crashes like 2017 or maybe FTX more recently?
That's a great question. While those crashes, they definitely had huge impacts, right, on market mood, on pushing regulators to act. But if I had to connect it to the really big picture shift, I think I'd argue the true inflection point was actually Bitcoin's kind of reluctant acceptance by traditional finance.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Think about it. You have huge established players like BlackRock actually filing for a Bitcoin ETF. You have firms like Fidelity exploring crypto and retirement plans. Governments moving, however slowly, towards creating actual rulebooks instead of just saying no.
So less about a single dramatic event.
Yeah, maybe less about a crash and more about the slow, gradual integration. Even things like the Mt. Gox collapse way back when, while a disaster, they kind of underscore why secure infrastructure becomes even more critical as Bitcoin gets woven into mainstream finance.
That makes a lot of sense. So it wasn't necessarily a single crash or even a specific tech upgrade, but more this gradual, maybe hesitant, embrace by the very financial world it originally aimed to disrupt.
I think so, yeah. It sort of transitioned from being this like fringe outsider tech to something that, okay, it's still volatile, definitely, but it's increasingly being plugged into the existing financial plumbing.
Which might explain why this current rally feels a bit different.
Exactly. It doesn't feel like it's only driven by the same kind of retail speculation or hype we saw in some earlier cycles, although that's surely still part of it.
Right.
But it seems underpinned by a level of institutional adoption and maybe a bit more regulatory clarity, or at least direction, that just wasn't there before. It signals more than just price going up. It suggests maybe a continued evolution in finance itself.
Okay, so as we're watching Bitcoin hover near its all-time high again, the big takeaway is that its journey has been, well, anything but smooth.
Definitely not smooth.
It's weathered some major storms.
Cool.
And while the price is what grabs the headlines,
Always does.
the deeper story is really about this gradual, sometimes quite bumpy, integration into the global financial system.
But, and this is really crucial for you listening, it's so important to understand that this integration, even though it's happening, it doesn't automatically mean Bitcoin is now a safe investment or even stable.
Good point. Very important point.
The basic mechanics, the forces driving its price, they are still complex. They can still lead to really big swings up or down. So understanding how it actually works, what those driving forces are, and what its potential uses might be down the road, that's more critical than ever, I'd say.
Absolutely. Which brings us to the $1 million or maybe $100,000 question right now. What do you think happens next? Will Bitcoin finally smash through that all-time high this month? Or are we maybe looking at another significant pullback, another correction?
Yeah, what's your prediction?
We genuinely want to know what you think. Drop your predictions in the comment section below. Let us know your reasoning.
And look, if you want more of this kind of in-depth, hopefully unbiased analysis on crypto, on finance,
Yeah, trying to cut through the noise.
then make sure you subscribe. That way you won't miss our next deep dive.
Because next time, we're actually going to look at 3 specific altcoins that could potentially be well-positioned if Bitcoin does manage to break out and sustain a move higher.
So stay informed, everyone. Stay curious.
And keep exploring with us. Thanks for tuning in.